I think one of the biggest concepts to understand in the Web 3.0 is this concept called blockchain. Now, there is this large problem that digital has always had. The problem is called a double spend problem. What happens is, I have this pen in my hand, I give it to you, now you have the pen and I don't have it anymore. The problem with digital assets is, when I transfer a photograph to you, both of us have the photograph. So now who owns the photograph? Distribution is inexpensive, replication of objects is possible. So how do you solve this problem? So basically what happened was, the blockchain is a technology that allows you to solve this problem. What it does is, that whenever a transaction takes place, when I give the image to you, there is an entry in a public ledger. And that ledger, in a way, is what blockchain is. So they're using SHA-256, which is one of the most effective encryption methodologies, where these entries are made and more entries are made. So if you really want to hack it and you want to do something, you have to go all the way down, and by that time hundreds of entries would have been made. So it is a very secure way to sort of ensure digital transactions, and they have an impact across the world. It can have an impact on currency, it can have an impact on real estate, on mutual funds, on something which is called NFT. So it's going to impact every single part of the business. And it's almost like, if you take Web 3.0 fabric, blockchain in a way is something that is weaving this fabric together. And the underlying technology of blockchain allows us to operate Web 3.0 more effectively.
Okay. And where is blockchain currently used?
So blockchain, I think the best example of blockchain right now is cryptocurrencies. So all of us have heard of a term called Bitcoin. Now obviously, I made a mistake of not investing in Bitcoin 5 years ago when I heard of it. I'm still regretting that mistake. But the fact of the matter is that if you take today, right, currency is a story that somebody has told us. So I believe in the US dollar, I believe in Indian rupees, because somebody tells me it's valuable. So the way I look at it is, today there are 14 countries in the world who don't actually trust their own currency, because it's so volatile that today you have 100 rupees and tomorrow it becomes worth 50. So then what happens is, you don't trust the rupee anymore. So those countries are not trusting their own currency. So what happens is, blockchain creates a global currency like Bitcoin, where there is just one Bitcoin. Right? There may be other currencies, but there is only one Bitcoin. And El Salvador as a country has now accepted Bitcoin as an official currency. You can buy things using Bitcoin as a currency. But it can be used for real estate transactions, it can be used for advertising, it can be used for consumption of media. Whenever you have an asset, a digital asset, what happens is, if you want to break that asset up into different fractions, and you want to sell different fractions to different people, in a way blockchain can be a very effective method of doing so. So the way I look at it is that this fabric of 3.0, blockchain is a technology going to drive it, and it's going to impact every single industry that we know. It's going to impact entertainment, it's going to impact art, it's going to impact what objects you buy in a way, the metaverse. Even today, right, Salman Khan and some of the people have joined, and they've launched their own NFTs in India. So the fact of the matter is that it is going to impact anything in the world, because everything is going to be touched by Web 3.0.
What exactly is NFT?
So I think you have to understand this. NFT stands for non-fungible token. So what is fungible, right? So let's say I have a 500 rupee note in my pocket. Now I give it to you, right? Or I give you some other note, or I give you 100 rupees, some 5 notes. Then what happens is fungible. You don't care. But what if my 500 rupee note had an autograph of, let's say, by God's grace, Mahatma Gandhi? Now suddenly it's non-fungible, because I will not exchange that note for any other 500 rupee note. My note is special, it's scarce, it's unique, only my note has that signature. So the way I look at it is that non-fungible tokens are tokens which give you ownership of digital assets or physical assets where they are non-fungible. That means that is my ownership, only I own it, nobody else owns it. Now in the Web 3.0, what happens is that I may own the digital asset, but I still may give the right and license to everybody to use it. So they can improve it, they can do anything with it, but the primary token, the primary NFT is mine. So there's an example where there is this neon cat, where the neon cat was bought for a certain price, or the first tweet by Jack Dorsey was bought at a certain price. I own the digital asset. But it's like, imagine that you are Louvre and you own Mona Lisa as a painting. So you own it, I can search on Google and I can get the image, but the ownership of the asset is with the museum. Similarly, I may own a digital asset, which is my own NFT, but then I can share that for people to see, for people to use, to people to improve, but the original underlying asset is mine. The first tweet is mine or the neon cat is mine. So right now the function of NFT is mainly in the form of, is used for basically design, graphic, art, like sort of digital objects in the virtual world. But NFT is going to, again, can be used for any kind of fractional ownership. So it could be a physical object, we could actually create an NFT and different fractions of people can own it. So again, these are all the components that are weaving this magic of Web 3.0 together, and all these components come together to create something which is completely insane and wonderful.
Okay, I want to know a bit more about cryptocurrencies.
Yeah. So I think the way to look at a currency, what is a currency, right? A currency is something where you can give something and buy something. So in a way, to a certain extent, even a barter sort of is a currency. I give you a car and you give me a gold coin. That gold coin or the car can be a currency. The other thing is it stores value. So when it meets this requirement of storing value, so a Bitcoin today or Ethereum and some of the other currencies, they store value. So if something that can be used to purchase something or store value, it's in a way become the currency. The problem is that, they say that the previous generation sold their Ponzi scheme, we considered their scheme as a Ponzi scheme. And the current generation Ponzi scheme is going to become the next Ponzi scheme for the next generation. So what happens is that I believe in gold, I believe in hard fiat money, while my daughter may believe in cryptocurrencies. So what happens is there is no right or wrong. We've been taught that, listen, this object of gold or this object of fiat currency can buy me things. If somebody convinces somebody that their Bitcoin can buy them things, that becomes a currency for them. But underlining technology behind it is blockchain. But basically what happens is that the fortunate part is, right, that let's say if you take Satoshi Nakamoto, who sort of is the mythical founder of the entire algorithm of Bitcoin, probably he's going to be the richest man in the world if the Bitcoin goes at the way it's going. If it goes from $80,000 or $70,000 to $180,000, he'll become the richest man in the world if he does exist. And the fact of the matter is that what he did was he created an algorithm by which there are going to be limited Bitcoins in the world. They're going to be mined in a certain way, but because there's scarcity, there's only so many Bitcoins that can be there in the world. But if you take, in the last 2 years, look at the Federal Reserve, the amount of currency is printed. So what happens is that, in a way, if there were $100 in the world and Federal Reserve printed $100 more, now there's double the capacity in the world. So theoretically, the dollar price should have gone down. But because it's a currency that's trusted by all the nations, it has not got impacted as yet. That's the reason a lot of people are investing in Bitcoin, because there is no single government that controls it. That currency has store of value. That currency is scarce, is limited. It is not going to increase exponentially. Nobody is printing more Bitcoins and will go beyond a certain number. So what happens is that it meets all the requirements that a currency would need to meet, and more. It's digital, it can be transferred easily, it works in many countries now officially, but of course governments are going to grapple with it, because most times, right, in order for a society to function, you need to have control. And basically tracking how Bitcoin is being spent is very, very difficult. So what happens is that obviously it scares the head out of a lot of governments and countries. But I think cryptocurrencies is the future, the right cryptocurrencies, and I think there is nothing that we can do to turn back the clock.
Okay, should I invest in cryptocurrencies today?
Right. So the way I look at it, right, is like asking me, should I invest in stock? Which stock, which market, which part of the world, which industry? There are hundreds of questions that I would ask you. So the way I look at it is, there are certain asset classes that have high risk, they have high volatility, they have less stability. So if you have 100 rupees to spare, you may put 10 rupees out of that into angel investing, very, very high risk. You may put 5 rupees into cryptocurrencies, again very high risk. Then you may put something into gold, something into stock, something into mutual funds, and something in fixed deposit, something in your home. So all these are asset classes. They all basically follow the same principle. If it's high reward, it's high risk. It's less reward, it's low risk. So if you put something in FD, it's going to give you low reward, but it's safer. So the way I look at it is that I think everybody who has a sort of this, I would say, investable surplus, they should experiment with different asset classes. Like I'm experimenting with angel investing. That's my high risk investment and high reward investment. But if Bitcoin suits you, it's just like I saw it grow from $1 to $50,000, $70,000. It's very difficult for me to get in at this point of time. If I had got into Bitcoin a few years ago, I would have got in. But because I attended it 6 years ago, the Singularity University, and somebody told me it's $300, I didn't buy it at 300. Now it's extremely difficult for me to fork out cash at 100 times, 10,000 times that amount now. But I would suggest that this 60,000 can easily become $500,000, it can become $1 million if everything they say true about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies actually becomes true.